Hello, interwebs. I hope you're all doing well. Unfortunately, this is not going to be a fun video, and it's honestly a video that I really wish I didn't have to make. But as someone with a decently sized platform and as a fairly prominently known, or at least decently well known, maybe I don't want to aggrandize myself too much, but a decently well known Star Trek fan, I feel like I do have a little bit of an obligation to talk about something that is deeply concerning me surrounding the Star Trek franchise right now, and at least use my platform to discuss it, to speak out against it, and hopefully to educate a little bit about the dangers of the usages and the promotion of NFTs within the Star Trek franchise right now. So I just wanted to use this video to make a quick little discussion about it and why I am very concerned about NFTs currently in the Star Trek space. Before we get into this, though, I want to make this very, very clear. Number one, I am not doing this to attack or crap on the Star Trek franchise as a whole. I know that elements of this choice by the, Star Trek franchise, whatever conglomerate, is not being promoted necessarily by the people involved in actually creating the aspects of Star Trek that I really enjoy and love, namely like the shows, TV shows, and ancillary media, and merchandise and things like that. I know that this is very much probably a decision made by Viacom CBS, by Paramount, by people in the higher ups who are seeing an opportunity to try to make money, and a new way to make money, which is what so many different corporations are doing when we're talking about NFTs right now. And it's not necessarily on the people actually working on the franchise and the aspects that mean a lot to me and care about me, that I really care about. So I just want to make that entirely clear, that this isn't Jessie saying like, I hate modern Star Trek now, this sucks, because I know in our silly culture war, everything needs to be good/bad society right now, that me speaking out about something that I'm seeing negatively being promoted by the Star Trek franchise will somehow be taken by certain elements as me being like, look, see, the person who likes modern Star Trek now hates it. See, she gets it, she understands. No, that's being very clear. I support all the people working on Star Trek, all the creative types, all the hardworking people that are making the franchise that I really love and care about, and I'm still so excited about so many aspects of this franchise right now. So I just want to make that entirely clear. The second thing, too, is I know that when it comes to NFTs, it's a heated topic for many, many, many different reasons, not to mention that people have a huge emotional investment in NFTs, most specifically because, at least to my mind, it is a scam. It is a thing that is trying to scam people out of money. There are people at the top that are trying to sell it, and there are people that have bought into it, and as such, they may be too deeply invested. They may have a lot of money tied up into it, and so they may try to be justifying their being caught up in all of this stuff. And there's also a lot of misinformation around it as well, and so they may do so in vitriolic ways. So I just want to be very, very clear here. I'm speaking out about NFTs because I find them deeply concerning, especially within the Star Trek franchise, which I think is stands antithetical to everything that NFTs are. But I want to make very, very clear, if you are someone who is involved with NFTs and things like that, this isn't an attack on you personally, unless you are actively trying to promote and grift people, in which case I do have a problem with you. But I understand that people's emotions and money and livelihoods can be caught up in these things, and so I just want to be very clear this is not an attack on anyone specifically necessarily. Anyways, now that I've sort of set the bar for the conversation, let's actually talk specifically about what is going on right now. Okay, so I'm jumping over to this so you can kind of see what's happening here and we can sort of discuss. In case you hadn't seen it, and this was actively promoted by Star Trek's Twitter page as well, but I'm just sort of going here. Recurry is an NFT company. They sell NFTs, they sell NFT brands. They are currently partnering with Star Trek and Paramount or Viacom CBS, I don't know the exact way the corporate structure works, to sell Star Trek NFTs. It was just officially announced today. They've been teasing it for a while. I myself actually received emails about it from people asking me to use my platform to promote NFTs and saying like, hey, we'll pay you to put advertising space for this on your platform, which, by the way, I'm not going to accept. But anyways, it's officially been announced now. And what this is, Star Trek Continuum, it is an NFT platform where they are going to try and sell NFTs based around the Star Trek franchise. It's going live in about 2 days right now, and it's also being partnered with Star Trek Mission Chicago, which I have the tweet here. Star Trek Mission Chicago, which is the Reed Pops convention that I'm actually going to be going to tomorrow. I'm flying out tomorrow to go to Chicago to do this convention. I'm very excited about that, but I am disappointed to learn that Star Trek Continuum is sponsoring the app version of Mission Chicago, and probably more. My assumption would be there'll probably be advertisings there. very, very sad and disappointed in that aspect of this con that I'm very much looking forward to and excited about. For those of you who don't know, what NFTs are non-fungible tokens. They are basically, they get long and complicated and gets into cryptocurrency and blockchain and all that stuff, but the basic concept is, it's basically like an NFT is basically like a digital receipt for a digital asset. So like a picture, and it says like you own it technically, but you don't really own the digital asset. You have like a receipt of ownership of the digital picture, and it's something that people can copy and paste and do whatever. There's a lot of arguments around people saying that this is a benefit for people, that it's a good thing, like artists can get paid for their digital work, etc., things like that, and it's sort of the wave of the future. But if you really look into it, and by the way, I'm going to highly recommend this video by Folding Ideas called Line Goes Up, the Problem with NFTs. It is 2 hours long, but it is worth every single second of it that goes into this in greater detail. But a lot of what NFTs are basically a scam by people trying to make money and sort of like create this economy, this bubble economy, to try and sell people things that are ultimately meaningless and worthless. This isn't to say that I don't think NFTs can't be useful at some point in the future of technology, in the sense like maybe in a video game you buy like a skin or something and you can sort of bring that skin across different like platforms and things like that. But as it stands right now, but that would be more like a key sort of thing to like just show that you have this item across like multiple platforms. But as it stands right now, they're just like one-off things for just like selling weird, dumb like monkey art and things like that. That it ultimately is just a scam. And honestly, the part of like what NFTs that I would personally be interested in if it ever develops, which I don't think it ever will, or at least in our current capitalist society, has nothing to do with them being bought and sold and making money off of it. It's more like a key as a way to like keep a code of like how you can sort of bring your assets across different things, and not necessarily like as a money thing. The reason that I think that these stand very much against everything that Star Trek stands for, and why I'm deeply disappointed specifically that Star Trek as a franchise is partnering to sell these NFTs, is, like I said, it is about commodifying every little aspect of our lives. I mean, we live in a society today where everything has to be commodified. Everything has to be bought and sold and sold to us in different ways. And one of the biggest frontiers that is currently being explored right now is in our digital world. I mean, you see things with like the metaverse, with Facebook and well now Meta, where they're trying to like sell space, like digital space in a digital world. Like it's just trying to commodify literally every aspect of a digital space, which up until fairly recently had been fairly free and open for most people. But again, as we just see this encroaching more and more in different ways and different aspects, the commodification of every aspect of online world is happening, and NFTs are an example of that. Some other concerns with NFTs too are also security based, like with the blockchain and cryptocurrency, which I am not the biggest person to understand. Again, Folding Ideas wonderful video goes into that in greater detail, but there's also a lot of security issues when it comes to all that stuff, and people being have like their money stolen from them and their NFTs stolen from them and things like that. If you know anything about Star Trek, we could argue whether it's a post-scarcity or, anti-capitalist or whatever, but like Star Trek is about a society not where everything is commodified, but where everyone is able to share and take part in the future together, that we're not trying to commodify every little bit, but everything is just given freely. Now, we could argue about like Star Trek being a post-scarcity society where you don't have to worry about that, and so don't have to worry about like parsing out different resources and things like that. But it is in many ways a very anti-capitalist, very anti-commodification franchise. It is a franchise about, moving beyond the need for that and just setting our sights on exploring the future of humanity, what it means to be human, it means to explore, to seek wonder in the galaxy, and not trying to, collect more and gain more and acquire. It is very antithetical to that. And so to see Star Trek trying to sell NFTs, which, by the way, look at the prices on this thing. $250 for like a pack of like digital, like, I'll own like a digital receipt to an image of the Enterprise. And it's also, by the way, it looks like it's a pack, so it's like which contains a Constitution or a Constitution of Starfit, and you get like a couple other random things. So it's also loot boxes on top of that, so it's like some gambling stuff in here as well. You're paying $250. I have like Star Trek models of ships over here on my shelf that are tangible things that I can like hold in my hand and own and like enjoy. And can't be taken away from me and can't be necessarily stolen from me unless someone literally comes in my house and steals it for less money than these NFTs. So like the ridiculous prices on this is also just part of the grift as well. It's honestly just disappointing. to see Star Trek doing this. And again, being very clear, this was probably a decision that made by someone who has very little or nothing to do with the Star Trek franchise as a whole. It is very much probably done by someone higher up. Again, we see so many, especially in like the video game world and things like that, with people, trying to find new ways to earn money and wring money out of people. And NFTs are just a new way to do it. And a lot of corporations and companies are jumping onto it. And because there's a lot of misinformation and it's honestly hard to understand what NFTs even are, people are falling into it. And again, getting emotionally invested in it because it is very much a scam, and so people will, it's too big to fail in many people's minds, and it's ultimately sad to see that. Also, I'm adding this section in because I was literally exporting this video, and I actually received this DM on Twitter in relation to one of my tweets that I made calling out NFTs in Star Trek. And I'm hiding this person's identity because I don't want anyone to go after this person, but I just want to use what this person sent me in a private DM to share in order to make sure that I'm clarifying exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about NFTs. What this person said: "Hi Jessie, no idea if you'll read this, but it's a little unfair for you to call out fans that have literally spent hundreds of on Star Trek Online and Fleet Commander not real fans. Number one, I wish to be very, very clear. I did not call anyone, whether they promote NFTs or not real fans. If you like NFTs and love Star Trek, you're still 100% a real fan of Star Trek. I am expressly calling out and discussing NFTs specifically, not questioning anyone's fandom or anything like that. So I want to be very, very clear that that is a misrepresentation of what I said, regardless of whether this person took it that way. That is not what I said in any of my tweets. I think it's antithetical to Star Trek as sort of an ideology and ethos that franchise sends out, at least in my interpretation of it, but it is not questioning anyone's specific fandom or love of Star Trek in any way, shape, or form. They're the people that have shaped this NFT and video game, and there are thousands of them. Personally, NFTs are not my thing whatsoever, and I don't gamble, but I will call out gatekeeping." So just again, to quite reiterate on this. Number one, with this Star Trek Continuum thing, which looks like it's going to be like an NFT, like crypto mining thing, which you've seen like there's other NFT games that are doing the same, where like people play it to like mine NFTs and things like that. If you look into it again, Folding Ideas video, which I cannot recommend more than enough, like it is such a great video, goes into this. A lot of those things are scams. This is not to say that there aren't artists or people that have worked on those things that have not done great work. We're not passionate about it because I got to work on Star Trek. Believe me, regardless of what I was working on, if I got to work on something Star Trek related, official Star Trek branding, I would be excited too. And I'm sure there's so much artistry and wonderful stuff in there. Even when things like Star Trek Online, like the people that work on Star Trek Online, the stories that are told in that game, the artistry on display, so much so that Star Trek Picard, the show itself, took some of the models that people had created for that game and put it in the show. There are fantastic artists and people that work on these things that I'm sure are passionate and do great work and are so wonderful and are contributing to Star Trek in a really, really wonderful way. But that does not mean that the whole endeavor that they are ultimately supporting is not a harmful one. And I'm not saying there aren't aspects within it that aren't good. And by the way, with Star Trek Online, which is not necessarily to do with the NFT specifically, but with Star Trek Online, like, I think that game has a lot of artistry and great stuff and stories in it too. I have a problem with the gamification and grind in it and how it sells like loot boxes and stuff too. This is not something that's like explicit to Star Trek or that company. It is a problem within the industry as a whole that is working to commodify these things. And I would think that a lot of artists that work on these things too, maybe they disagree, but would feel that sort of same way as well about how sometimes and if you look into like Jason Schreier has some wonderful books. He's a video games journalist that has made several books. He's talked about how like a lot of these like forcing of this commodification into gaming has hurt a lot of the artistry within games. You see it a lot of times, like with Marvel's Avengers, with Square Enix. That game just totally tore that company that made those games, made that game apart because of how much they just needed to make it a commodified live service game, and it ruined a lot of the hard work of the people who were working creatively on it. So I want to make very, very clear, I'm not attacking the creatives and all the people involved on something. I'm again making very clear the distinction between me attacking people and me attacking the problem with NFTs in general and loot boxes and all that sort of stuff in general. NFTs are the big one right now and probably one of the biggest things to be focused on, but it is not by any means exclusive to NFTs. And I will call out gatekeeping. I'm telling you what I see and the problems that I see with NFTs. If you want to go buy NFTs, I'm not here to like tell you that you can't. Or that you're not a real fan. What I am saying is I am very concerned about NFTs. and have an issue with them. And again, there's a distinction between me stating a problem that is growing within all of our online spaces right now, specifically under the system of capitalism that we work under right now, and people that are, and the distinction between that and the people that live in our society, that take part in it. Like there's a difference, and I have empathy for everybody involved. So I want to make that distinction explicitly clear in all of these things. So not attacking the people that worked hard on these things. I'm not attacking the people that that like do artistry on these things. I'm not attacking the Star Trek franchise in general. And I'm not gatekeeping anybody. I just wish to make explicitly clear my issue is with NFTs and what they represent and what they are doing within our world. And again, I will reiterate it one more time. Folding Ideas video, go watch it. It is a necessary watch for these discussions. A couple other things that I think are worth pointing out in this conversation as well, and that's something that makes me really pleased and happy and proud as a Star Trek fan, is that I have seen, at least in the Twitter spaces, and maybe it's different elsewhere, but a lot of Star Trek fans really pushing against this happening in the Star Trek space. I've seen other spaces where NFTs have been, because they're so confusing to a lot of people, have been sort of like ignored, forgotten, or even bought into. But I think in the video game sphere, and then I'm so glad in the Star Trek sphere as well, a lot of people are actively aware of how harmful these things are to the future of our ability to access the digital world unfettered without having to pay for every aspect of it and commodify every aspect of it, because I feel like Star Trek and also the video game space are spaces where people are a little bit more savvy to these things like technology and future stuff. So what I am really pleased about is that I just see when people tweeted this, so many Star Trek fans are tweeting out negatively about this and just saying like how much they really dislike this. It just makes me so pleased. And if you go into retweets of this, people that are tweeting positively about this, number one, more negative stuff, but people are tweeting positively about this. I was even trying to find it earlier. They were here earlier. Look, a lot of these people that are talking about oh look, it's these are all more negative ones. See, I'm only finding negative ones. I'm actually looking for the positive ones. There's me. Looks good from what I'm reading. For this one, positive reading. Look who this is. It's a person that is selling NFTs. Their whole thing is selling NFTs. It's just to boldly mint where no one has minted before. Oh, look, he's investing in the metaverse. That's how he identifies himself. I'm not necessarily, they aren't saying they are Star Trek fans. Maybe they are. But that's not their first identity. Their first identity is selling more and more NFTs. So you see the people tweeting positively about this. Again, this is the CEO of the company. There you go. I have not necessarily looked into this, so I cannot speak to this 100%. This might just be rumor mill, but I have heard information that possibly the people at this company have donated to politicians who have caused harm to communities like the LGBTQ community and things like that, which is also incredibly antithetical to Star Trek in many different ways. Again, I'm putting an asterisk on that. I don't know that for sure. So I just want to be very clear that I don't know that for sure, but it is something that I have seen being said. So I encourage people to look more into that. I don't necessarily have the time because I am getting ready to go to Mission Chicago tomorrow to necessarily look into it in the time for this video. It would just be an aspect, an avenue for people to explore if you so wish to do your own research on it further. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video to just express my disappointment in people using the Star Trek franchise in this way, because it is antithetical to everything that this franchise stands for and means to me. I mean, I'll be entirely honest with all of you. There's an element to me that's really, really scared to make this video, because more than anything in my life, I want to, number one, spread positivity around Star Trek because it means so much to me, and then also the whole reason I've pursued a filmmaking career is because I want to work on Star Trek. Maybe I never will. Maybe I'll never will be able to work on Star Trek, and I want to be able to work on other projects and things like that. But my dream is to one day just contribute something to the Star Trek universe, because it has given so much to me and meant so much to me. And so there's an element to me that's scared of speaking out against something like this. Because maybe people at Viacom CBS would be like, well, never hire her. Again, I know that that's a ridiculous thing. And again, it's silly, and maybe I will never work on Star Trek, and I'm not angling for a job on it necessarily right now, but it is something that inspires me and sort of pushes me forward. And so Yeah, there's just an element in me that thinks about that with saying this, but I also feel like I do have a little bit of an obligation to discuss this. So it is what it is. I have also seen a few actors and things like that, like William Shatner and a few other people tweet out in promotion of this. Again, I don't necessarily want to say like they're trying to scam people. I know a lot of celebrities are dealing with a lot of different stuff and are busy and are like asked to do promotions on things and don't necessarily, and again, NFTs are confusing. So I'm not necessarily say like any actors that promoted this thing are bad or horrible people. I'm not saying anything like that, especially some of them who are people that I really quite look up to and am very fond of and think have fought for things that I really believe in throughout my life. So I want to be very clear that I'm not like calling people crappy for that. What I will say is I'm disappointed in it, that they're not doing their due diligence in what they promote and what they sort of use their platform to push. Especially when people really do look up to them. Like when you're someone working on Star Trek and you're a Star Trek actor, I don't necessarily I mean, you're an actor, you're doing your own job, but I do know that as someone involved in this franchise that people look up to you. I look up to you. And I find it, again, I'm not angry, more just saddened a little bit by it. So I'm not going to call out anyone specifically, besides maybe William Shatner, because William Shatner's gonna William Shatner. But a few others, I'll just at least sort of express my hope that this would not be something to continue to actively promote. Whether or not they hear this or not, I just wish to at least say that. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching this. I hope that this was helpful. Again, this is not me saying that I hate Star Trek now or hate people working on Star Trek or Star Trek as a franchise is bad. What it is me saying that corporations are bad, NFTs are bad, people scamming people, the commodification of everything is bad, and using some corporate person deciding that the Star Trek franchise was the franchise to do this within is bad and disappointing and quite frankly would be funny if it weren't so disappointing. So I just wish to share all of that. Regardless, thank you everyone for watching. I will see you all at Mission in Chicago in a few days if you're going to be there. I'm very excited about that, regardless of this NFT stuff. It should be very, very fun. I'm going to be nerding out with all my favorite people, which is Trekkies and all of you. So I hope to see you there if you're going to be there. But beyond all of that, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you, as always, live long and prosper, my friends.